Would you get a gastro doc to help you with a heart problem? Welcome to Hanovi Global Network. Coming up, I'll explain. Hello, my friends. Guten Tag. I have a serious question for you tonight. If you have a major intestinal problem, or let's say a bellyache, which major doctor would you go to? A gastroenterologist or a cardiologist? Oh, I know, it's an obvious answer. You will go to a gastroenterologist because he specializes in stomach illnesses. You don't want to go to a cardiologist. No. Now, I guarantee you, if your general practitioner says to you, look, you have a heart problem, you are going to go to a cardiologist because he specializes in heart problems. Well, my friend, these things are the same across all disciplines. If you have an engineering problem and a guy comes to you and says, look, I'm going to help you solve that engineering problem, the first question you should ask, what type of engineer are you? So, if you're working on an earth retaining structure or a retaining wall, the question is the person who's attending to that should specialize or at least have major experience in dealing with earth retaining structures. Now, I am not going to take a building structural guy who does buildings or residential construction and hire him to take care of major earth retaining structures. Or the same way, I would not take a guy who's an environmental engineer and have him handle major earth retaining structures. I would also not take a guy who has general civil engineering experience and put him on earth retaining structures. I would be specific. I would like to know that that particular individual has major experience in geostructural engineering. Now, geo has to do with earth. Structural, as it implies, has to do with building structures that are able to resist earth pressure. And a lot of the times in this business, people will expose to you, if you're keen and listen to what they're saying, they would tell you how much they know on a particular subject. So if a guy comes along and says to you that, oh, a retaining wall is safe because the people in the area said it didn't move when the rest of the earth slipped, or the contractor said that he put it on rock. Now again, as an engineer, you don't take for granted anything a contractor says, especially if you were not present when it was being done. And of course, to the untrained eye or people in the area, you cannot rely on them for engineering judgment. And the real test was, or the real giveaway was, when someone says, oh, well, the retaining wall is safe and stable because it didn't move. Now we have to understand, we're talking about here an unloaded retaining wall. The only weight pretty much that's acting on the retaining wall right now is its own self-weight, the weight of the wall itself. Now the wall will be loaded when it's backfilled and vehicles, additional surcharge load, are passing over the roadway. Then the retaining wall will be fully loaded. So if that is happening and the retaining wall takes the load, remains in place, and nothing shifts, then I can say, oh, okay, well, it looks like the retaining wall has been properly designed. But to make premature judgments and put it in the public space based on what the contractor told you or based on what people in the area told you is indeed premature. So I'm also a bit suspicious here, especially when something goes wrong. Guess what? We have to find out what was the root of the problem. So was it a problem with the means and methods used during construction? Was it a problem with supervision? Was it a problem at the initial design phase of the project? This is what has to be examined. Now, before you make any premature judgments, the right approach would be to take a look at the drawings, see what was required in the drawings, okay? And also do a little analysis yourself. You can do a manual analysis, and now these days you have a plethora of retaining wall software, so you can model all of this stuff. You can actually see how it deflects on the loading conditions. The bottom line is you have a lot of tools to help you out in this. And what is critical when things go wrong, and I've said this before, is that you have to be intellectually honest. That is the only way you solve problems. You don't have a problem and don't take critical look at the problem to see what is the source of the problem, and then you jump to conclusions and you say, oh, this is a problem. No, no, no. You have to do a full analysis before you make premature judgments. If you don't, you are going to repeat the same mistakes that were made before. Especially, I saw the PM said that additional retaining walls would have to be built. I mean, I expected that. So, the bottom line is this, just to make everyone aware, you don't get a gastrodoc to fix a hard problem, and vice versa. So, I hope that the current administration would exercise good judgment, especially in the interest of the public good. There is much that was said about having this done on budget, on time, and safely done. Exercise of proper judgment and getting the right personnel and key people to get this done would be part of that process. It's a good starting point. This is another one by Hanovi Global Network, where clarity and accountability is the order of the day.